Recording in progress.
Good evening. This is a meeting of the Greenbelt City Council. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll, please?
Good evening. Miss Niesel?
Here.
Miss McKinney?
Here.
Miss Pompey?
Here.
Miss Pope?
Here.
Mr. Roberts?
Here.
Miss Weaver?
Here.
Mayor Jordan?
I'm here. Please join us in a moment of silent reflection as we remember several residents and others who have passed away since the last council meeting. Residents Sandra Lee Sambrini, Margaret Warner, and Sven Robert Smith Jr. Join us in a moment of silence. Councilmember McKinney, will you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to read the community pledge?
Oh, yeah, let me get the, pull it up. The strength of Greenbelt is diverse people living together in a spirit of cooperation. We celebrate all people by sharing together all are enriched. We strive to be respectful, welcoming community that is open, accessible, safe, and fair.
Well, thank you so much. So that's going to bring us to the first item on the agenda, which is petitions and requests. Let me just start off by saying, if you're in the room, petitions and requests is an opportunity to make a statement or to make a request to the city administration. We log all of these requests that are made, and city staff will record them and research, and it's not the practice to actually respond on the spot because we like to know what we're doing. So if you're in the room and you wish to make a comment, petition, or request, after raising your hand and being recognized, you can go to the podium. You need to state your name and where you live, more or less. If you are on Zoom, you can use the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen to submit a question, or you can once again raise your virtual hand, and you'll need to state your name and where you live, more or less. We don't accept anonymous comments on Zoom. If you're watching on cable TV or on live streaming on Facebook, you can send us an email, cable TV as well. Send the email to questions@greenbeltmd.gov. For petitions and requests, you've got 5 minutes. During the meeting, we'll also pause periodically for public comment, and during the meeting, it's 3 minutes. So please, one question at a time, and let's all be civil here in the way that we address one another. It's greatly appreciated. So at this time, let me ask, are there any petitions or requests? Yes, please.
Bill Williams, Greenbelt. Just a note before I petition and or request council. The publicly distributed agenda tonight is printed, every other page is printed. 2 is gone, 4 is gone, 6, and then it jumps to 41. The oversight, I'm hopefully can be corrected before the night's out. The masses of Greenbelters might be showing up and wanting a copy of the agenda. I first wish to say that I'm in receipt of a written explanation of entering a petition that I've been making for some time now, and I want to note for the record that I'm still dissatisfied with that response. However, there's something of a more immediate nature I wish to speak to tonight. I don't presume that everything is fully accurately reported in our newspaper record in Greenbelt, but I have a question tonight. I'd like to know if this is accurate. The previous issue to the current issue states that council adopted at the last regular meeting an increase in its compensation by amending the charter, and then it concludes by saying council is already receiving compensation in this adjusted level. And I find this troubling if it's accurate, and either city council, which would have been receiving this increased compensation, would know if it's accurate, or city management, which cuts the checks for council, would know if this is accurate. So the answer can be given to me in real time now, tonight, if it's accurate. If it is accurate, it troubles me that notwithstanding the history of this particular item over the course of the last two budgets, council would have accepted, would have been offered the increased level without the charter having been amended. And it's troubling even more so that council would accept increased compensation without the charter having been amended. So my question is, from either council or city management, is the report in the news review from 2 weeks ago accurate? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'll state it again. This is not questions and answers, it's petitions, and your petition is logged. And a response, city manager, would you? Sir, you're speaking out of turn. Mr. Somerone, would you like to make any comment?
I can answer the question directly. The response is easy. The reporting, as reported in the Greenbelt News Review, is accurate. That council is receiving a compensation that was based on a fiscal year 2024 budget process. The charter amendment was not properly made at the time.
Okay, well, thank you so much for that clarification. Appreciate it. Are there any other petitions or requests? Is there anyone online who has their hand up? No?
No.
Okay. Well, that will bring us to the consent agenda. Are there any modifications to the consent agenda? And if there are none, could I please have a motion to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That measure carries. Thank you. And that will bring us to the agenda itself. Are there any amendments or changes to the agenda? If there are none, could I please have a motion to adopt the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Pope has seconded. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that measure passes. And that is going to bring us up to the next item on the agenda, which is presentations. And we've got two presentations tonight. The first is Older Americans Month proclamation. Now, the chair of the Golden Age Club is on travel, Judy Parker, and we were looking for a representative to accept this proclamation. Are there any seniors in the house? Mr. Javasi, you're a senior, are you not? Why don't you come on up? Any other seniors want to come up?
You.
Oh,
me.
did I say seniors? older Americans. I can present it myself. I'd be glad to do so. You're gonna read a proclamation to you. Possibly. Okay, let me stand up. And I'll just grab this. Okay, here we go. Whereas the city of Greenbelt is home to a thriving community of older adults who have contributed to the strength, vibrancy, and resilience of our city, and whereas older adults play vital roles in our communities as family members, friends, mentors, volunteers, civic leaders, members of the workforce, and so much more. And whereas the city of Greenbelt recognizes the value of engaging all residents, regardless of age, ability, or background, and is committed to promoting inclusive communities that support the health and well-being of older adults. And whereas this year's national theme for Older Americans Month, Flip the Script on Aging encourages to challenge outdated attitudes, celebrate diverse experiences, and recognize the contributions that older adults make every single day. And whereas Greenbelt strives to enrich the lives of individuals of all ages by promoting home and community-based services that support independent living, involving older adults in community events and other activities such as tennis, and providing opportunities for older adults to work, volunteer, learn, lead, and mentor. Now, therefore, I, Timothy Jordan, by the authority vested in me by the residents and City Council of Greenbelt, do hereby proclaim May to be Older Americans Month in the city of Greenbelt, Maryland, and urge all residents to take time to honor our older adults, enrich their lives, and continue building a community that values aging as a time of strength, wisdom, and continued contribution. So I'd like to present this proclamation to you. We can take a photograph. Let's see. This way. And look up.
It's yours now.
You know, this Older Americans Month is something that we acknowledge each year. And this year we're a little on the late side. It's the end of May, but better late than never, which kind of, maybe that relates.
Did you forget?
No, I didn't forget.
I'm just checking.
But speaking of the Golden Age Club, they do have an important program coming up. I believe it's on the 7th during Greenbelt Day weekend. Is it the 7th?
I believe so. That's the not for seniors only, right?
Right. And
You're talking to senior citizens
yeah, and
advisory
it's
committee.
flipping the script on aging. So that's an open forum, and it's not for seniors only. It's for everybody.
No, it's for everybody, of course.
Okay. And next, I have another presentation, and that is National Gun Awareness Week proclamation. So the first Friday in June is National Gun Violence Awareness Day week in the city of Greenbelt, and that's to honor and remember all the victims and survivors of gun violence and declare that we, as a country, must do more to reduce gun violence. And we just have to do something about this. So I've got a proclamation, and we're not just declaring Gun Violence Day, we are declaring a whole week in the city of Greenbelt. So we've got several members of Moms Demand Action, Prince George's County, and Greenbelt residents here. So I've got a proclamation. Would you come up and I'll share the proclamation with you. Welcome. It's great to have you here today. So, whereas every day 125 people in the United States are killed by gun violence, more than 260 are shot and wounded, with an average of more than 19,000 gun homicides every year. And whereas people in the United States are 26 more times likely to die by gun homicide than people in other high-income countries. And whereas Maryland has 805 gun deaths every year, with a rate of 13.4 deaths per 100,000 people. That's a crisis that cost the state about $10.5 billion each year, of which $383 million is paid by taxpayers. Maryland has the 35th highest rate of gun deaths in the U.S., and Prince George's County has a rate of 14.7 deaths per 100,000, and that's the third highest in the state of Maryland. Whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding residents goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people who shouldn't have them, and whereas by wearing orange and commemorating National Gun Violence Awareness Day on the first Friday of June, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives and lost human potential of Americans stolen by gun violence. And whereas we renew our commitment to reducing gun violence and pledge to do all we can to keep firearms out of the wrong hands and encourage responsible gun ownership to help keep our children safe. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the city of Greenbelt declares the week of June 6th through 12th to be National Gun Violence Awareness Week in the city of Greenbelt, and we encourage all residents to expand efforts to prevent the tragic effects of gun violence and to honor and value human lives. So I'd like to present this to you. Yeah. Want to stand?
Careful.
Thank you.
Thank you
Yeah, thank you.
Wear orange
I can
first-
invite you to the
first week in
podium
June.
if you'd like to say a few words about this occasion. Ken, would you like to say anything about activities coming up this month for the moms and just things going on with the chapter here in the area?
We're gonna do a bridge walk.
Thank you. So my name's Lori Morrow. I'm one of the leadership team for Prince George's County. Wear Orange Weekend is coming up June 6th through 8th, and it's actually wearorange.org. There are activities happening across the region, DC, Virginia, Maryland. The Prince George's County chapter is actually participating in a bridge walk. We're partnering with Charles County, meeting at National Harbor, the outlets, and the walk goes however far you want to go across the Wilson Bridge. And we will also have information about Moms Demand Action that morning as well. So again, wearorange.org has all of the different activities that are going on that weekend. So.
Well, thank you so much. This is a day and a week that we have observed in Greenbelt for many years. So we've got our orange ribbons. I wore my orange tie. But it's more than just a day. It's something that we really have to come to grips with. Just this epidemic of gun violence. And somehow, through grassroots advocacy and through everyone heightening awareness and doing what they can about responsible gun ownership, I think that's a first step. So we appreciate what you're doing in Prince George's County. We appreciate the many Greenbelt residents that have been active in this movement and are looking forward to supporting your efforts in any way that we possibly can.
Thank you so much. We absolutely appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Okay, that's going to bring us to administrative reports. Mr. Samaron, how are you?
I'm well. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Good evening, residents. A lot of exciting projects are moving forward. The pool project is on schedule, as well as the boiler and the chiller projects in the community center. A couple accomplishments over the last reporting period. We had a wonderful wellness walk. It was well attended by council members and residents. We also had a well attended job fair with over 20 vendors, and we had 390 folks registered for the event from participants, and I think we had 200 of those in attendance, and the numerous other people that walked through the event. It's a well-attended event. I know there were a few folks, including council members, took some headshots, professional headshots. So we had a photographer on site taking professional headshots of the job fair. The other accomplishments, the EV projects are moving along. The new stations are installed at the police department. Council have previously authorized and encouraged us or pushed us to get more EV vehicles, and one of the vehicles converted was the parking enforcement vehicle. So now we have EV charging stations for that vehicle and the police department. The other EV charging station project, we've hit a bit of a roadblock on the transformer. So the team is going back to design and engineering for the community center charging stations, but we expect that to move forward. It means the new design will probably have more cost associated with it because we'll need a new transformer. So we're looking at grant opportunities, specifically PEPCO grant opportunities. There's two of them that we will be pursuing in an effort to offset the increase in cost of the stations. CARES in the Greenridge House hosted a COVID booster vaccine clinic. So that's over 20 participants received booster shots. And I've included the city manager's report in the packet, and I'll welcome any questions from council.
Was COVID along with RSV and flu shots as well, which is that's fantastic. Yeah. Put them.
So just regarding the EV chargers at the community center, what's that going to do to our timeline? Because I think you had originally hoped they might be in by the summer, but if we're going to have to apply to a grant for a transformer, I'm guessing that's probably not realistic.
Correct. It's hard to tell based on the design. We had a design over a month ago that had us tying into the existing transformer at the library. So we're moving the permitting process based on that design. But now we have to go back to a new design. The issue is going to be what the transformer, whether the transformer that is needed for that installation is going to be readily available from Pepco, or if we have to order a transformer. I think those transformers are going to have a long lead time. Obviously, there's also permitting issues, but I'm more concerned about the transformer. To the original timeline, we had hoped to bring those stations online in June. We're a couple days from June, so we're not gonna.
No, that's clearly not gonna happen.
Right. So now I would hope. I hope that we can get those EV stations delivered by the end of the calendar year. From a funding perspective, we're using ARPA money for the project, and we have through calendar year 2026 to complete the project. So we're within the timeline allowed for the source of funds.
But maybe as much as a 6-month delay, if you're saying end the calendar year compared to where we'd hoped. That's all. Yeah, I understand you don't know exactly, but that gives me a sense of timeline.
And what that means for council as well, as we had previously discussed with council, we will need some authorization to make the public aspect of the project, public facing, allow citizens to charge. That will require ordinances from council to regulate the charging infrastructure for that, or the charges and how people will connect. Other things we will need from council will be the model to have community charging. Is it going to be run by the city, or we're going to outsource it to a third-party vendor? So it gives us the change in the design is going to give us a little more time to work through those details.
To be clear, the location of those charging stations is actually by the rear of the library. Is that correct?
Correct. It's the community center library parking lot.
It's going to be 2 or 4 stations.
Going to be 8 stations.
Stations. Oh my.
With the DC chargers will be 10. There'll be 8 public stations in the DC charger. The DC chargers we initially we've designed that to service the fleet vehicles, the parking enforcement vehicles, so that those vehicles can get in and out. A question for council will be, would council want to make those available to the public in addition to the 8 charging stations that would be, in addition to the 8 level 2 stations that will be available?
Once we get those in place, I think we may see an uptick in utilization at the library, people popping in there.
Right, this one out here, the municipal building is well utilized. That reminds me that we are in negotiations with the EV Institute on that contract. We do not have a valid contract with that firm for that charging station. So we're working to correct that.
Very good. Other questions or comments for the city manager? Yes, please.
Several weeks ago, we had a couple of residents come in with a petition about requesting some traffic calming over here on Crescent. I was just wondering if there had been any progress made on that, because a few weeks before that, we also had another resident come in talking about that same area. So I just was wondering if we had made any progress on that.
The city has embarked on a citywide traffic calming study and initiatives. So we'll have more to report once that work is complete.
Good evening. That actually, the location is not part of our Central City. We are working on a response. One of the things we're considering also is relocating one of the blinking stop signs that are at Southway and areas that we're experiencing some issues with site selection there and moving those to that. The request was for speed humps. We will be providing information as to why that's not an appropriate device or tool, if you will, to use at a stopped controlled intersection. So it'll be forthcoming. I would say in the next 2 weeks, we should have something for council in response to that.
Any other questions or comments from the city manager? And if there are none, let's go ahead and move to the next section of the agenda, which is legislation. And item number 11 is a resolution affirming the City of Greenbelt's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion for a second reading, possibly for adoption. The council packet contains a resolution outline of the City of Greenbelt's support for diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ms. Pompey, you introduced this resolution for first reading at the May 12th regular meeting, and the resolution is presented tonight for council's consideration for a second reading and possible adoption. Ms. Pompey, would you like to introduce the resolution?
Sure, do I have to use the resolution number when I introduce it, Anita?
Yes.
Okay. For second reading, resolution number 2118, a resolution in support of diversity, equity, inclusion. Whereas the City of Greenbelt's community pledge states the strength of Greenbelt is diverse people living together in a spirit of cooperation. We celebrate all people. By sharing together, we are all enriched. We strive to be a respectful, welcoming community that is open, accessible, safe, and fair. Whereas the City of Greenbelt acknowledges that diversity can be defined as differences in race, gender, gender identity, ethnicity, physical and/or mental capabilities, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, immigration status, family status, and religious beliefs or lack thereof. Whereas the City of Greenbelt acknowledges that not all people start at the same place, and what is fair may vary across groups or individuals who may experience differences in opportunities, advantages, and barriers. Whereas the City of Greenbelt recognizes that inclusive and diverse viewpoints and opinions greatly enhance the city, its staff, city council, and boards and commissions. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the City Council of Greenbelt hereby proclaims our continuing commitment to promote a municipal work environment, city government, and community that reflects diversity, equity, and inclusion, to embrace and honor the differences and rights of all groups, particularly those who have been historically disenfranchised and discriminated against based on identity and ability, and encourage all residents to strive to create an inclusive and supportive environment in which everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute to the betterment of the City of Greenbelt. And be it further resolved that this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Yes, please, Mr. Roberts.
I have some comments. We went through this, essentially the same motion a few months ago, and the council voted on it. I think it passed, 3-4 or something, or 2-4 or something. But afterwards, I noticed in the news review that there was a letter to the editor in there from a resident that said, I think I voted against that motion. I think the mayor voted against it. I don't know if anyone else did. But there was a thing in the news review saying, why didn't we support it, and encouraging us to support it. And the fact is, I'm not against DEI. That's not why I voted against it. I know the mayor had concerns of bringing attention to the administration in D.C. and then they could come back on us, and make us look bad. That wasn't my issue either. I'm not afraid of what Mr. Trump or anyone else thinks of my position on an issue facing our citizens. But the problem is, the reason I didn't vote for it, and the reason I'm not going to vote for this, is because we don't have real DEI in Greenbelt. We have a facade of DEI. And I'll give you an example. The council has allowed the city manager to enable a select group of employees to attack our citizens anytime they want for anything and deny them their rights, their First Amendment rights, their rights of due process, etc. All the rights that we hold dear as Americans. Our First Amendment right, to me, is the most important right that we have. So we have a group of Jedi that is
Mr.
empowered-
Roberts, point of privilege.
Yes, please.
This is getting into some attacks against personnel that is not appropriate for a council.
No one
meeting.
even, I didn't mention a name. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. There's no freedom of speech in this city. So our group, our little select group there, wants to remove 2 of our residents
Mr. Roberts.
from committees and boards that they have served
Mr. Roberts,
on.
you're out of order.
No, I'm not out of order. You're out of order because you're violating the very
You're
thing
out of
that you're
order.
trying to do right now. By not allowing me to tell the citizens what the truth is.
Getting down this road
That's why
about
I'm voting against
making
it, because
comments,
we have
personal
no-
comments
We have
about
no
employees.
DEI. We have no.
You can't do that. So you're out of order.
I'm not out of order. I haven't mentioned one person's name, and I'm mentioning what is the truth. If you don't like the truth, that's too bad. And that's why this is nothing but a facade. Thank you. You proved my point, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Pope.
I don't think that Mr. Roberts. was
Ask
out
Mr.
of
Rudd and
order.
Mr. Rudd and Mr. Mason.
Excuse me, you
what
are out
they
of,
would
you're
think
out of
about
order,
being
sir.
thrown off
You
of
are
their
out of-
committee
you are out
because
of order.
of what they said,
Please
because of their
refrain from
opinion.
speaking. Ms. Pope
They
has
want
the
to
floor.
remove them
Ms.
from
Pope,
their
please
committees.
continue.
Removed from the committees.
So,
Tried,
okay.
didn't you?
Pope, please continue.
but that's
You have
the
the floor.
problem.
And you've
But
been
this is
unsuccessful so
Sir,
far.
will you please yield the floor?
But this is the,
Continue to be unsuccessful.
but this is the problem.
Thank you.
See, someone wants to say something, and we're not going to give him the opportunity to finish. I don't think it's out of order. I think that's is his opinion, and I think he has a right to speak his opinion. And exactly that is the problem. And yes, we did have a motion on the floor a month ago, 2 months ago, about the same topic, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, is this new, or did we not just, have this in front of us? But that's the problem. We don't give everyone the chance to speak and voice their opinions. Just because we don't like it, it doesn't mean that we don't have to listen to it. So we're going to have to be, I think we have to be careful with it. Anyone's opinion is a valid opinion. Anyone, what he wants to say, he should be able to say. We should not be interrupting him.
As the chair, I do have the prerogative to act, and it was my opinion that he was out of order. Mayor Pro Tem.
I would like to read out the portion of the standing rules that I was referring to, which is why I believe Mr. Roberts was out of order. It says, this is section 6(2)B, members of council shall not raise personnel matters pertaining to alleged improper performance or conduct of any city employees or council appointees at a public council meeting. Any concerns about the conduct or performance of any city employees or council appointees shall be brought to the attention of the city manager, or a closed session of council may be requested to discuss the personnel matter. That is why it was inappropriate for Mr. Roberts to be making the claims that he was.
You always have an excuse for hiding.
No
things,
back
don't
and
you?
forth, Mr. Roberts, please.
Illegal actions
Please,
are not
Mr.
covered.
Roberts.
Illegal actions are not covered by the Open Meetings Act.
Okay, thank you.
You cannot hide
So I'd like to
in
make
private
a statement
session
myself.
to do illegal
You do not have the
actions.
floor right now.
Won't give it to me because you're violating my rights.
Sir, I am not violating your rights. All of council, each council member has the right to speak before another speaks on the same topic. You're well aware of this, so please. I am going to say something, though. While I strongly support my colleague, Ms. Pompey's passion and intent, I'm going to abstain from this vote. Our primary responsibility as council members is to protect the best interests of the city. And we're living through a time right now when there's a strong possibility of retribution. The city has not changed its commitment to equity, to diversity, and inclusion. However, right now in the executive office, day by day, hour by hour, we're seeing just really, really bad things coming out, just retribution, people being fired because they are in support or perceived to be in support of DEI as a term. So I'm going to abstain because as a council member, I think it's our responsibility to protect the best interest of the city. And we have not changed any policies. We're going to continue to do the things that we've done to encourage diversity so that our workforce actually reflects the composition of the city. Anybody else like to make a statement?
No, I actually agree with Mayor Jordan. I don't think that we have changed the way we're doing things. We're committed to everyone in our residence, in our city, all of our residents, regardless of who you are, what you look like, what you believe in. I think we've always done that, and we believe in that. But I think we do have to be careful what we do and how we do it, because our commitment and our responsibility is the entire city. So I agree with Mayor Jordan's statement. And that does not mean that we're ducking or but we do our responsibilities spread much wider than what our personal beliefs are.
Councilmember Niesel, please.
Thank you. I can certainly understand the desire to be careful. However, when faced with potential injustice, I feel that we on this dais are supporting our residents by being loud and proud about our inclusionary efforts, and that is why we will be wholeheartedly supporting this resolution.
Thank you. Other comments? Mayor Pro Tem?
I think if we believe it, we should be willing to say it and make a public statement regarding it. So I agree with Ms. Niesel, and I appreciate Ms. Pompey bringing this forward again.
Any other statements? Yeah, Councilmember.
I would say, if not now, when? We're saying everything, if you look at the language that is actually in what Ms. Pompey put forth, that's exactly what you just said. We're already supporting it. And so we are simply validating exactly what we believe and what we have been doing as a city. And I think if we are supporting our residents, I look at all of the residents out there that are making their voices known in so many different ways. And I think they are being active, they are being vocal, and we are representing them as a council. And so we should be able to say that and validate what our citizens believe as well.
Okay, so let's go ahead and take the vote.
We have a hand raised online if we want to allow public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's someone online?
Yeah, it is, I believe, actually Michael Hartman, although it's
Okay.
labeled as Laura Rosenthal.
Okay, Mr. Hartman, are you there? Mr. Hartman, are you there?
Yes. Yes, can you hear me?
Welcome, yes.
Yes. I want to thank the council for this resolution, and I would like to say that that it is very important that also there's another group involved in that could be included, and that is the bias against apartment dwellers. I don't know how you would put it in there, but I've seen a bias against apartment dwellers. For example, thinking that people think that they don't pay their property taxes, which is paid through their rents. But I would like also to, so I don't know how to include that geographical neighborhood, whatever, but I see a distinct bias against people who own apartments in a lot of different ways. And in answer to the mayor's caution, I think that one only needs to go to Martin Niemöller's comments, and that it's first I came for the socialists, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. And I think it's really important that that if we believe in something, that we should say it, that we should recognize that there are people who are being hurt, and that we are against that in the most profound and the strongest terminology that we can do. And I get back to the apartment dwellers. I don't know how to put that in, but I think that is part of diversity unique to Greenbelt, that it has, that we do have that situation. So that's my comments. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other comments? Yes, please.
I feel moved to remind council that Eleanor Roosevelt and Franklin Roosevelt said two things that we should be aware of since our city was founded by them. It was a project of theirs in 1937. Franklin said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. So I think that's pertinent. But Eleanor was nominated as a widow to be the first delegate to represent the United States, to form the United Nations, and then to be our representative in the United Nations. And in 1948 got the only unanimous resolution, it was a resolution similar to what you're trying to pass tonight, the Human Rights Resolution. And that wording took our Congress 16 years to pass, even though we were the sponsors of it. That was the 1964 Civil Rights Resolution. It's the same wording as the 1948 Human Rights Resolution. This is 2025. I think we need to not be fearful of a McCarthyism-like reversion that is going on at our federal in our federal government by a certain occupant of the White House. But he was mentored by Roy Cohn, who created McCarthyism. So I think this resolution is speaking against that level of fear and reaffirming our commitment to values, because this is about values, and I don't think we should be fearful of that.
Well, thank you. Any other comments? Please, sir.
I'm going to remind, is it on? Okay. I'm going to remind us all that when we started this meeting, we took a pledge for one nation, for liberty and justice for all. And as a religious leader, just remind everybody that whatever our faith, I think all faiths are based in love. And in love, we should be willing to disarm hate. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to go ahead and move to a vote. I think we've all kind of commented. We've gone around at least once.
I haven't made a comment yet.
Oh, I'm sorry, please.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you for everyone's comments, whether you're in support or not. I just wanted to say briefly that, I brought up this resolution because this is something I've reflected upon a lot, particularly after the council voted 4-3 to affirm our commitment to DEI. And I really felt like we needed a stronger statement, because I just really do believe that now is a time for moral courage. And I think, and the mayor is not incorrect that there could be reprisals. There could be reprisals. We could lose something, but I just feel like by, as a community, not standing up for our values, we lose more. So I just really think it's important that, as my fellow council members have said, to be loud and proud in who we are, and make no mistake that these are our beliefs. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, thank you. Let's go ahead and, Mr. Roberts, I would rather not go around. Would someone like to make a motion to close discussion, or would you like to go around another round or two?
Yeah, Mr. Roberts had his hands up.
Okay.
Not up, so.
I believe he's already spoken twice, and council rules are that everyone speaks twice.
That's correct.
And then I had to
So-
break in.
Got a motion on the floor. All in favor, please
Apparently
say
your
aye.
motion is not, doesn't count to everyone. Apparently, that's the problem.
All in favor?
I think it needs to be a roll call.
All in favor? Okay, roll call vote. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope? Mr. Roberts?
No.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
I abstain.
The motion carries.
Just did. So let's go ahead and move to the next item on the agenda. Sir, please.
He's not wrong.
Item number 12 is a resolution to authorize the negotiated purchase of professional design services and community engagement for the development of a master plan for Indian Creek Park from Meha Rakyle Associates Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $25,600 and an additional allowance not to exceed $7,000 for procurement of engineering support services from the city on-call engineer. This is for second reading and possible adoption. Staff recommends that City Council authorize the city manager to execute a contract with Meha Rakyle Associates Incorporated to develop a master plan for the Greenbelt Station Indian Creek Park area at a total cost of $32,600, which includes $7,000 for engineering. And we've got our Director of Planning and Community Development here, Terry Ruby. Good evening, Ms. Ruby.
Good evening.
Would you like to share the background, or shall I read it?
Defer to you.
Oh, okay. This item responds to residents' petitions regarding insufficient bicycle park. Oh, I'm sorry, I've got this agenda. It's the one with the page missing.
Why don't you go ahead, Ms. Ruby, while the mayor pulls it up.
Yeah, I'll just summarize, if that's okay, that this is building off of the work of the Neighborhood Design Center did for the visioning for recreation amenities at Greenbelt West. During the budget times of further discussion around developing a master plan, a plan for the Indian Creek area, which is the area off of Branchville Road there along the creek, sort of between the Greenbelt Station development and the scrapyard. So as you all know, Mahan Reichel and Associates worked with us on the master plan for Buddy Attic. They are a renowned firm known for their excellent work in park planning and design. And so we approached them regarding, if you will, developing a master plan, building off of, not recreating a lot of the public input and engagement that we've already had, but building off of that. So this proposal will provide us with a plan that then we can begin implementation of. We have program open space funding approved. The project just needs a defined scope of work, if you will, and then we'll take it to the Maryland Board of Public Works. And there's monies in this year's budget to support this design effort as well.
Well, thank you, thank you. Ms. Weaver, you had introduced this resolution at May the 12th, the regular meeting. Would you like to reintroduce the resolution?
Sure. I would like to introduce for second reading a resolution to authorize the negotiated purchase of professional design services and community engagement for the development of a master plan for Indian Creek Park from Mahan Reichel Associates Incorporated at a cost not to exceed $25,600 and an additional allowance not to exceed $7,000 for procurement of engineering support services from the city's on-call engineer.
Second.
Okay, Ms. Pope was seconded. There were a couple of diagrams, the proposal, the memo award contract, which you summarized, and the resolution. Council members, do you have any questions or concerns or thoughts you'd like to share on this?
Not me.
Councilmember McKinney.
Just a couple of questions. So with this contract, what is the timeline for getting the plan, and what will be the next step for engagement with both because I think one of the things that we went through with the green space planning is that we really included Greenbelt Station, but I also want to make sure that we're also extending out to Franklin Park, since that area would benefit both of those neighborhoods. So I want to make sure that there's an engagement strategy for that as well.
Yeah, as part of, after their research and just schematic, we wanted to have something to bring to the community, since we've already developed a lot of the ideas and so forth. So there will be a community meeting early on in the process, a public workshop, and we can certainly invite all those, surrounding neighborhoods, including Franklin Park and Verde, to that. As far as a project schedule, that is something that we will be developing with the recreation and the consultants. Once we award the contract, we'll sit down and we will certainly share that to you. They know that we are anxious to get this project underway, especially with the program open space monies that we have on hold for this project. So they did indicate that they could start on it upon award.
Yeah, I want to share a concern that the outreach effort, it needs to include the entire city. In the past, we've never built a park for one specific part of town. So I think the voices of the whole community should certainly be invited to be at the table. So it was a 5-step process that's being proposed?
Total, I believe it was, let's see, a total of, well, there's a total of eight tasks, if you will.
And could you just read them?
Sure.
quickly?
First, as I indicated, the first task will just be research and analysis. There's a lot of environmental constraints we need to be aware of, given this location and the stream buffer and floodplain and so forth. So that'll be in step 1. Step 2 is the consultant will come develop a schematic bubble diagrams, very similar, if you will, I think, to what we saw in the NDC, but building off of the recreation identity, those elements that were identified in the NDC plan. Then there'll be a public workshop. Then they'll take the feedback from the public workshop and develop concept alternatives. Then there'll be an additional stakeholder work session to discuss and review those concepts. And then from there, they will basically develop a preferred master plan for the area, which then will be taken to a city council work session for discussion and feedback. And then the final will be a master plan document.
So it's not unlike the process that we went through for the Buddy Attic
Very
master
similar,
plan.
yes.
Very similar.
Very similar.
Okay, any questions or thoughts? Yes, Councilmember, please.
I just, I think this is a very thorough plan, and I appreciate all the information here. I think you guys have done a great job preparing for this meeting, and that the consultant seems to have a really firm grasp of what their task is. So, and it's a large one, so thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Anybody online? Okay, let's go ahead and take a vote on the resolution. Does that need to be a roll call? Yes, please.
Ms. Niesel?
Yes.
Ms. McKinney?
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts? Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, the resolution. Thank you so much. So up next, other business, item number 13, briefing on Prince George's County Transit Vision Plan. And we've got Jamie Fear, one of our planners, who is going to provide us with a briefing. Prince George's County Department of Public Works and Transportation. Their vision plan is a primary component of the Department of Public Works and Transit transformation process that creates a roadmap for improving the county's transit service and infrastructure. The TVP outlines aspirational strategies and implementations across that are meant, implementation actions meant for planning. The design and implementation between 2025 and 2030. So it's a plan 2025 to 2030. County released the TVP on May 9th, 2025, and public comment period is open till June 13th. So, Ms. Fear, welcome. It's good to have you with us today. So how long have they been working on this transit vision plan?
That is a good question. They've been working on it for a bit. I don't know the exact timeline, and in fact, as I get into some of our concerns that I wanted potentially to address in the city's comments, the communication has been very spotty from the county. And so this actually, when I think I submitted the memo probably Thursday morning or early afternoon for inclusion in the agenda, but Thursday night was their first public outreach offering, and so I attended that virtually and actually learned a few more details, including that this is to be considered a draft, although it's not labeled as such, that the final will come out probably at the end of June, but I don't know if there will be any more. It's a pretty short timeline for public comment. And actually, initially, they released it on the draft Transit Vision Plan, or TVP, on May 9th, and we're asking for all comments by June 1st.
Right, that's,
Which
doesn't
wasn't
make a
even
whole lot
30
of sense.
days, but they've since extended that to June, excuse me, June 13th. So it is now June 13th that comment is due. The technical reports that go into the background, because this actually, what I think I attached for council, it's a pretty high-level report or plan, and it's essentially a 5-year visioning plan. Those technical reports haven't been released yet either, and will probably come out either right before public comment is due or after. So we haven't seen those just yet, but they have been working on it for a while, and my understanding is this was an effort to get it out for public comment before the full transition over to WMATA's Better Bus Network.
Better Bus Network.
Since it relies pretty heavily on their partnership with WMATA.
I can't really see how you do one without the other. You know, it just seems like the timing of the two, and also just getting the public input and actually getting input from the municipalities. So in any of the technical reports, or the process of going through this, do they actually formally consult with the planning staffs of the municipalities, the 27 municipalities in Prince George's County?
We have had brief conversations with them over the past year. And certainly the letters that we've sent, the city has sent in response to the proposed and now adopted Better Bus Network have been CC'd to DPW&T as well. So they have gotten feedback that way from us.
Very good, very good. So I don't want to slow this down. Do you have a presentation or something that you're going
I
to
do
show?
not. I can go over the highlights. They have some graphics. I included 2 of the graphics in staff's memo for council, but really what I wanted to highlight was generally the format of the plan, or what they're planning on. So they are those technical reports that we don't have include a background technical report, an engagement technical report, the transit transformation technical report, and the route profiles. I know people are interested in the route profiles, but we do have that information and have kind of had that through WMATA's Better Bus Network. And I can repeat some of those, but they weren't focusing specifically on specific routes within this plan so much as wanting to put those in that technical report that will be attached to the final. But just as a reminder, the current Route 16 will continue service as the P22. All of these changes, the changes will happen over a period of 2 days. If it's a WMATA route, it will happen, the transition will happen on Sunday, June 29th. If it's a route that is run by the bus or by Prince George's County, it will happen on Monday, June 30th, because they do not run buses on Sunday currently, although they have a goal to. The Route 15X will continue service as a Route P2X, which actually we didn't have full confirmation of that previously. The Route 61 will continue service as Route P19, that's Laurel to Greenbelt.
Which is new.
Yes, but it's newer. And then they're going to continue that, but it's also then going to be given a new name as a part of the Better Bus Network redesign. And then the bigger one, I think of concern for the city, or that we need to watch, is that the bus Route 11, they say it will be served by WMATA Route P21. Parts of it will, but there are significant sections of the routing that will be discontinued, particularly along Crescent, Green Hill, and Hillside Road. And so they should start putting up signage at those stops soon. That was one question that I asked at the meeting on Thursday, and doing more outreach about that. We haven't seen that just yet. I didn't go out today to look. But as of last week, they had not started doing that. The way you've seen some of the WMATA signs have been changed. They've been putting stickers over them that say this is currently such and such a route, and we'll be transitioning to this route, or this stop will be discontinued.
Seen a couple up,
Mhm.
but not with the county
No.
routes on there.
So hopefully that starts soon. So the transit vision plan is organized, it's not just about those reroutings. It, again, is a 5-year plan around funding, operations, workforce development, and land development. And so staff notes, we noted in our memo that we really liked the funding and workforce development aspects, as well as some of the dedicated bus improvements. But that we had some concerns about other things that we thought were missing. We thought this was a good time to mention our missing bike share station at the Metro. And they do note that we have heard that would be going in again. Was it the end of the fiscal year or the calendar year? Calendar year is the latest pushback that we've heard in the timeline. But given that we believe that we need that station in order to have an actual bike share network and to connect to transit, and because so much of this plan is really focused on transit-oriented development, and that's a hub. It's not just a metro station. It's a very busy bus station. It's a MARC station, connects us to College Park, all of that we should have that station. We also noted that in looking at their land use section, when they talk about transit-oriented development, there is no mention of working with the municipalities on transit-oriented development. It mentions working with MNC, PPC, county planners, and private developers more closely. And so we wanted to point out that we also thought that they should be working with municipalities and municipal planners on TOD. And that I believe this is something we've heard in going through all of these processes with the Better Bus Network, when planning for fast track bus rapid transit and bus priority projects, we'd like to see consideration for bus rapid transit, or BRT, and bus priority projects along Maryland 201 Kenilworth Avenue and Maryland 193 Greenbelt Road. Those are not currently considered in the plan.
Yeah, I really like that idea of talking about and moving towards bus rapid transit, particularly on Kenilworth Avenue as the Purple Line moves towards completion. That connection directly from Greenbelt or from further up the road, maybe Merkirk, down to the Purple Line station at East West Highway and Kenilworth Avenue would be really, really important, I think. So I'm glad you suggested that, brought that idea up. So bottom line, with the bus thing, essentially by passing the 11 route over to WMATA, the county is actually providing less funding for transit, bus transit in Greenbelt. But with WMATA, the frequency is going to be 7 days a week and more frequent.
I didn't bring that folder with me, which I should have, where I have all the printouts of all the bus routes, but I thought that I believe the P22 is still going, I'm sorry, no, it is, you're right, run by WMATA. One of the routes is still going to be run, a couple of the routes are still going to be run by the county.
16,
but they will have the same naming conventions. There will be different colors on the signs. It will be a little confusing, I think, at first until folks get used to it.
Yeah. Why didn't they just change it to P16? Was it the P?
Because the P is for Prince George's County,
yeah.
which we know, but the numbering convention goes clockwise from the northern end of the county and then around. And so it just depends on the routing, and that's how they're using the numbering system.
Exciting. Mayor Pro Tem?
I think something that has come up in other discussions is the bus, I think, provides some free transit for students. Is that right? And I think we've expressed concern that with some of the buses being transitioned over to WMATA, and I don't think WMATA provides that in the same way. Is that something that came up in any of the public outreach or in as part of this that you're aware of?
I believe we commented on that as part of the Better Bus Network redesign. That is not something that's come up in this transit vision plan.
And what about, because I think one of the challenges is I think I saw reliability mentioned in here. Is that, and just knowing when the bus is coming and having better tracking of the buses so that you can see when they're coming, is that anything that they addressed at all or that you've seen addressed?
They addressed, at least they try to address up front that they know that the reliability is much lower than their goal. They did not talk necessarily about, tracking would be done, I think, through the same ways we're doing it through the GCFS data that most bus operators provide, usually to outsourced applications like transit, and probably would show up on WMATA's. I don't know if WMATA's Next Bus app, I don't want to do an advertisement for which app I use, but I don't know if WMATA's Next Bus app also shows the bus routes or not, or if it will in this transformation.
Because that seems like that would be pretty helpful if some of these routes are transitioning over from one to the other. It would be good if they could all talk to each other, so you can get the information all at once. And I think I don't usually take the bus to work, but when I have, it has, knowing like when the 15X hasn't come, and then I have to go out to the Greenbelt Road and get, I even forget which one it is, the 14 or the 12, whichever one comes by Goddard. It's very annoying when you are waiting there for the bus to come and it just doesn't come.
Councilmember Pompey.
In your letter, you mentioned that they say good transit is not possible without good bike and pedestrian infrastructure. But when I was reading through the plan, I actually didn't see a lot of references to bike and pedestrian infrastructure. So other than the bike shares, was there more information about just better bike lanes, protected bike lanes, more pedestrian access on, because we really have issues with bike lanes and pedestrian access in areas of this city. So I'm just wondering.
We do, but we don't have any county roads. So,
Okay.
they don't, no, they did not explicitly get into that other than improving, let me pull that up really quick. Other than improving, 1 second. Their highlights in sort of this overview plan are add bike and scooter parking to transit centers and major transfer points, expand bike share docks by working with Capital Bike Share, continue improvements to sidewalks and trails across the county. They do not highlight any specific ones. There is a map or two in there, and there may be more in the technical documents that we haven't seen. And they all show the entire county, so it's hard to pinpoint what, but they do show bike trails. There wasn't really anything about, there wasn't a map that highlighted any sidewalk gaps or crosswalk gaps. They talk about safe passage to schools and pedestrian bicycle access to transit programs, as well as universal accessibility improvements around stations and transit centers. So they do have a map of bikeways in the county, and I'm wondering if there's more detail in one of the technical reports about interfacing with themselves about what improvements they can make.
I can look for that. And I also thought it was.
They are not online yet.
Okay.
That's the problem.
Okay.
The technical reports won't be online until, it just says in June, but it doesn't say when.
Okay, and then looking at the documents that you did provide, I just really noticed the lack of bike shares that we have here in Greenbelt. If you look in College Park, it looks like you can't throw a rock without hitting a bike share. And we have, it says, I think there were like 3 on the map for Greenbelt, and that's not include, that doesn't include the one that they haven't put in, right? That's
correct. Those are the current ones. We are waiting on, do we have 3 or 4? Because they put the one in at.
2, one at.
4 now, since the one at Motiva is now in.
Okay, so maybe that one's just not on there.
We have one here, one at the police station.
One at Greenbelt Station, Central Park.
and then one at Motiva. I think those are the four we
So there are
currently
four
have.
now. Okay.
The
I only
two
saw
we're
3, but maybe
waiting
there's-
on are is one at the high school.
Roosevelt.
They have put in the concrete pad for that. The county installed that concrete pad, and the one at the metro station.
Is there a concrete pad at the one at the metro station?
There's plenty of concrete.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of concrete. I was just
I'm sure
wondering.
they'll find a good space for it. Plenty of sun too for the solar
It's
panel.
the pad over at Roosevelt's been in for a little bit more than a year. Councilmember McKinney. Oh, I'm sorry. McKinney?
I'm wondering if in this letter that you're recommending that we send, just that talks about the analysis, if maybe we should make a stronger ask around, could we host some type of meeting here instead of saying we need to have stronger communication channels. I know that we've been doing that with workforce development and things like that, and having job fairs here in our community center. Could we not host something where at least our residents, it could be more local, and if they want to express some of their concerns around this plan or get more information about it, that's one aspect. And it's also, it's open to the larger community in Prince George's County, but we could host it. I know that that might take some more time and effort, but just another option.
That's a good idea. Mr. Roberts, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I wanted to ask if we have any way of knowing how frequently the bike share bikes are being used. Do we have any idea?
We have not received that data, but I'm sure it is data we could get.
Be good to know.
We did receive it once, yeah. Yeah, and I think our bigger concern has been that without the network that actually connects folks to transit, we aren't seeing as robust ridership as we could potentially.
Yeah, well, I think it would be helpful if we had that information so we could, maybe put them in better places or wherever, whatever we need to do to make sure that they're being used. Because it's not doing us any good if they're just sitting there.
Okay, we've got a little time with this letter, so can you maybe prepare a draft with the including the comments that you've received tonight, and then perhaps we can put it on the consent agenda the next meeting, or the meeting after this. I think we've got a meeting June 2nd.
Yeah, no. I'm out the rest of this week, so I don't know if I would have I'm working, but I'll be at a conference about transportation. I don't know that I would have the letter for consent. Can I give it?
Yeah, I
send it
think
to the clerk
you can give it to the clerk, and
For
she can
review?
circulate it around. Yeah,
early next week. Is that okay? I don't think I would
if
have
that's
it
what's
in time.
feasible, that's the way we need to do it.
Yeah, I don't think I would have it in time for the agenda for next week. I apologize.
Let's see. Any public comment, Mr. Orleans?
A number of things might be feasible beyond Ms. Freer just providing further notes for the letter to council next week. I note that there's a work session to be determined for the 4th. I know I have an obligation early that night, but I would certainly return if there was going to be a work session on this then. The advisory board chairs is something that could be rescheduled, as is the legislative retreat. Inasmuch as the calendar in tonight's agenda suggests that meeting with the county on the transportation plan is ready to be scheduled once again, and that's been on our calendar either as ready to be scheduled or prospectively to be scheduled since 2009, when the last revision of the master plan of transportation and an earlier version of what's now called the transit vision plan was also being issued that year. We haven't had that work session since 2009. It's been on our calendar. I would suggest a work session given in the next week or 10 days before the 13th is in order, especially in light of the impact on Greenbelt residents of the changes to both the county system and WMATA system. I was on the outreach that Ms. Freer alluded to a few minutes ago last week, and there was some chatter that the county would be here tonight, but I asked her before the meeting began, and they could not fit it into their schedule. They certainly can fit into their schedule if council requests a meeting with them before the 13th, before the release of the technical reports, so that council, on behalf of residents of the city, as well as many residents in the city who might want to come to that work session, would be able to speak to them about this. Lastly, it's been suggested recently that the Better Bus Initiative of WMATA, and also inclusive of the county, Metro planning staff did most of the work for the county's revisioning of the bus, it has been ongoing for the last 2 years. In fact, this has been a project that's been ongoing for more than 6 years. It began as WMATA's bus transformation project. Most all of those meetings of the bus transformation project were closed to the public. There were a few members of the public, by virtue of their associations, who were allowed into that those meetings of the bus transformation project. All of the meetings of the Better Bus Initiative have been closed to the public, except for a few. I don't think that we should just sit back and accept that the planning that's gone into this, both for Metrobus and for the county, is something that's set in stone. There have been bus network redesigns all around the United States for the last 10, 12 years, most notably in Baltimore 5 years ago, the Link. All of them have met with opposition from the bus riders in the jurisdictions where these network redesigns have been made. I'm not arguing against the appropriateness of a bus network redesign, but the way they've done it, largely without public
Mr. Orleans.
opportunity to the public to contribute to it, were wrong. I think that council
Mr. Orleans.
should adjust its schedule, and ask for a work session between now and the 13th.
Thank you.
Those 3 dates are each possible. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Sometimes we vote on letters and sometimes we don't. Is it a good idea to just go ahead and vote to send a letter, even if we may not have the draft, especially?
Well, we agreed to circulate it with council, so we can do a polling offline via email.
Well, I was just going to say, I think we can take a vote now that we are going to submit a letter if we need to do so. So I would move that council submit a comment letter to DPW&T that outlines the feedback made in the memo's analysis, plus the further discussion and commentary this evening.
I'll second that. Mr. Javasi, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just had a couple of questions. I was looking at the 36 pages, and I'm wondering, because I know the bus routes were diminished somewhat about maybe within the last year. And has anybody looked and seen if the schedules on this new plan are they increasing service, decreasing service? What's the general view of that?
Well, as far as WMATA goes, the general perspective that they gave, it was an effort to try and expand access to the transportation. So the buses would run more frequently for some locations, and also just in terms of where they were going, more service going into the district, more 24 hours. I don't feel like I'm saying this correctly. Ms. Spear? Yeah.
I think what you may be asking about is that we have had a number of work sessions and presentations at council as this has progressed just over the past 2 years, not discounting the prior planning, but as the Better Bus network that is going to be put into place in 1 month has progressed. And so some of those changes were announced possibly as much as a year ago, but haven't happened yet. There may have been some frequency changes. There have been some bus stop consolidations, although none of the bus stop consolidations happened in Greenbelt proper, but did happen around the region. And there were potentially some schedule changes on some of the routes. But now, what we're looking at are all of those changes that have been adopted and were adopted in the fall by the WMATA board after we provided a significant amount of input and had a lot of back and forth with WMATA planners in particular. Those changes are going to happen. What we will see, because it's a cost neutral proposal, it is not their bigger vision plan. There will be changes in service and coverage, but there are some improvements in frequency as well as days that service is offered, particularly for service that's provided by the county. And so some Saturday service has been added, I believe, and some of the frequencies have been bumped up.
Here's what it actually says. The goals of Metro's new bus network are to provide more frequent, consistent bus service, enhance access across the region, and make bus service easier to understand, all the while using resources that we have today.
Yeah, well, we'll see what it looks like, because I do know
yeah.
some bus riders, and they've been harmed by, the added loss of routes and, so forth in the last year or two. The other thing is, I'm wondering is there any discussion, and I tried looking at it, and I don't know if it's, off-peak hours, you'll see a bus come rolling down empty, Is there any discussion to have smaller buses maybe on off-peak hours, or is it just the same kind of fleet that they've been running right along? And I'll leave
There's
it
been
to
some
that.
discussion around that. Ms. Fear or Ms. Ruby?
Sure. Most of the discussions around fleet have been around transitioning to electric, but hasn't discussed changing the size from what is usually a standard 40-foot bus. I think part of the problem would be having the funding to order new buses that are different sizes. So I don't want to assume too much on behalf of the county or WMATA, but I do know that one component of this plan, at least at a high level, is workforce development. So they're actually focusing on hiring and retaining their workforce, both bus operators as well as mechanics and other staff, because that has been not just a problem locally, but across the country. So I think they might be focusing more on that, and then the transition to electric as they can, and all the infrastructure that needs to go with that, more so than different bus sizes.
Thank you very
I haven't
much.
heard a lot about different
Yeah.
bus sizes.
Yeah, the county was actually running smaller buses over the past year. Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I just commenting that I've seen some of the smaller buses.
Yeah, so they may be moving them. They definitely pay attention to the ridership, which has gone into all of their calculations, and that may be, unless they're new buses. I just don't have that information.
Thank you very much. So if there's no further comment, let's go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of sending that letter to the county with the concerns that have been brought up tonight, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Measure carries. Thank you, Ms. Fear. Thank you. Okay, next up, we've got discussion on item number 14, which is an item to expedite the installation of bike parking infrastructure in Roosevelt Center, particularly outside of the Greenbelt Co-op. This is an item that I asked to be placed on the agenda. The past two council meetings, a resident, Tom Lamont, petitioned council about installing a new bike rack there at the co-op. And his reasoning was something that many people have noticed. The green rail that used to be in front of the co-op was a place where many people would lock their bikes previously. So in referencing previous bike master plans, because that rail was there at the time, this wasn't really an issue. So I put this on the agenda for two reasons. One, to try and move this forward without a long extended delay. Sometimes our residents make petitions and they wonder what happened, and they'll come to the next meeting. So what I was hoping to do was actually make a motion to just expedite the installation of this infrastructure. And I don't really have a problem with referring it to APB if they have an objection, but I just feel like above and beyond what Mr. Lamont brought up, this concern about having an additional loop or U parking infrastructure piece there is greatly needed and would be appreciated. And I just think that with the removal of that rail, it really has created a problem. So I'd like to actually make a motion to do that, if I could. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Discussion? Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important for us to look at it and also make sure that we're hearing something that clearly is a concern to a lot of residents. I guess would like to lean into your thought about referring this to APB, just because I think I would be interested to see if there are other areas around the city center that may either be a better location or that we also need to put in additional bike racks for. I just want to make sure that we're looking at everything, taking this opportunity since this has come to our attention. We should not move slowly, but also just make sure we're looking at the issue holistically. So if this is something that APB can look at quickly and then it can come back to us, if we set at least some expectations on when we would like to have it back on our agenda, I think it would be a good idea to look more broadly.
I suppose we could do that. I'm not really thinking that there's going to be a lot of objections, but if there are, I would not want to proceed.
Objections, I'm just saying they may have other ideas of other places that we might need to add additional bike racks or that that we haven't looked at so far.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I think there were hands up first.
Ms. Niesel, council member, were you first?
Well, I was just going to say, thank you, Councilmember Roberts. The place outside the co-op, as long as it is city property, it's really an eyesore right now. There's not even any grass, it's just mud, and people are choosing to lock their bikes to the poles instead of going onto the mud. So I would like to expedite an improved rack and pad there at the very least, because I don't believe that there could be that many economies of scale if we're talking about completely disparate locations. But that would be my personal feeling.
Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, I feel the same. I think that we know that there needs to be a rack there by the co-op. We know. I don't need APB to tell me that. We've already heard from our citizens. So let's go ahead and put that one in. Then we can look at other areas. But I think we do need to expedite that one and just put it in. And I don't want a bunch of concrete there. I just want, let's lay down some sod, put in a bike rack, and that's it. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I think I would prefer to it. I think there's an APB meeting next week, isn't there? So I think that could be, no.
It's canceled. Moved it.
Okay, got canceled. So when will the next APB meeting be?
But I will just provide a little background, context here. In 2019, there was a bicycle rack study done, recommendations made. At that time, the Advisory Planning Board did move unanimously to ask council to set aside $5,000 a year. It never came to fruition due to budget constraints, but Roosevelt Center was one area identified already by the board as needing additional bike racks. We implemented most of that study, and we did add some in Roosevelt Center. Clearly, perhaps not enough. I will say that the bike rack currently near the co-op is not our standard bike rack. It is not well liked by bicyclists. It's hard to accommodate bikes there safely, securely, I should say. So when this came before council as a petition, we've been working on a plan to see how many we can fit there safely. There's some trees. I have to say that we were looking at concrete, because if you see the area now, it is an eyesore. It gets very muddy. It gets ruddy. So for accessibility and so forth, we were looking at a concrete pad. We know we can fit in 3. They need to be 4 feet apart. There's a water spigot in the line, some tree, a tree and so forth. So we were trying to avoid those. There's a drain pipe. So we've been looking at that. Our goal was to actually complete the concept plan, get pricing with Mr. Kim on the bike racks and the concrete pad, so that we can then converse with the city manager on how we may be able to move forward in a timely manner. But again, I do believe it's consistent with action taken by the advisory planning board.
Well, that makes me feel a lot better, actually, that if it already has been considered it by APB in the past and you've already been looking at it, then I have less of an issue with it. I think I just worry about trying to have more of a process that we have this bike and pedestrian master plan. And I know so if I have fewer concerns with it, knowing that APB has already reviewed it and that maybe it's not necessary, and staff has already been working on it, then my concern was more with the process, not with the fact that a bike rack might be desirable there.
And it doesn't mean we cannot do a broader study, in addition to that,
Yeah.
and look at what we've installed since that study was done and how we want to build upon it. I know Braden Field was on there, and the lake parking lot was on there, and we did install some there. So we'll be monitoring the use to see if we provided enough. So that is something we can build on as well.
Ms. Pope?
Yeah, I think I agree. We might want to, go ahead and put that bike rack in, but still, like Councilman McKinney said, go take another look. I mean, the study's been done, some time has gone by, so just kind of take a quick look again and see where would be another possible, good place to add some more bike racks, because that seems to be needed. And locations may have changed a little bit, what's most popular or what's most needed.
Well, I think if you recall, historically, we were trying to keep the, any bike racks from being within the center, because it's unlawful to ride your bike in
Right.
the center. But I think if we heard from
Right.
the users, they want it to be within eyesight, right? So we have identified, I know that Mr. Sigworth, is working on this one, said he identified some more internally. So any new locations, we would want to converse with, APB and so forth and get more
Right.
feedback on. So we'll do that.
Because we want to have a comprehensive, look to it as well.
So, Member McKinney.
Just one more follow-up then thank you for that context. I appreciate it. In that previous study and plan, did it include looking at bike racks that would accommodate electric bikes as well as regular bikes? Because I thought that was also part of the concern that was raised by the resident, is that potentially the existing bike rack does not fit all different types of bikes. Okay.
We could certainly look at that.
Okay.
And I think those big U ones are better for that. I know the one that's by the path to the youth center, that one isn't very good for the e-bikes and other things.
We should be upgrading all of our bike racks to the inverted U. That is a standard that was adopted by the advisory planning board and by the city as a whole. So,
And Ms. Ruby, weren't we supposed to be putting in a couple of additional bike repair kiosks in the city, 2 more?
we were discussing that, yes, funding, yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank
All
you.
in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. That's going to bring us to item number 15, which is the Maryland Municipal League 2025 legislative action request. So, Assistant City Manager Tim George has put together a list of possible 2025 MML legislative action request, and we talked about this at the last meeting, and there were several proposals. I think we've got 2 or 3 strong ones to put forward. I just want to manage the expectations of council with all of the municipalities throughout the state of Maryland putting in legislative action requests, and the legislative committee is only selecting maybe 3 or 4 for the entire state. The likelihood of ours rising to the top, it's not that high. Of course, this is such a smart and accomplished council. Who knows, maybe we'll get 2 or 3 in there. But I was looking over the memo, and there are 3 top requests. Can you put those up on the screen? Number 1 is funding for juvenile justice reform. Number 2 has to do with regulating online streaming services to recoup or to provide a sustainable source of funding for local media. And the 3rd had to do with taxing social media companies to fund youth mental health programs. So I would like to make a motion to actually put all 3 of those forward as our legislative action request. The one thing that I might do is I don't think they are in any particular order. They're not ranked 1, 2, and 3. I think they all have equal weight. So I'd like to make a motion that we adopt those 3 initiatives as our legislative action reports or proposals request for the Maryland Municipal League process this year.
I'd second that.
Okay. Is there much discussion? Yes, please.
Just to quickly, I mean, we always have our opposition to the maglev on here because we are strongly opposed to the maglev, even though we all know that that's not something that would probably rise to the top for MML. And I'm not suggesting necessarily that we move it to the top in this, this year, but I'm just wondering, like, what more can we do about this, about the maglev, and about our opposition, because it does seem like a bit more urgent now. Wouldn't you agree? Like, and I'm just thinking, like, how can we as a city sort of, I don't know, push it more to the front? Like, what are the ways that we can do that? And recognizing that probably this is not the way, and maybe we don't come up with the way tonight, but I think that that's something we really have to keep top of mind, because I feel like things are sort of escalating in a way they haven't for several years. One of the things I was thinking about was maybe the city would like to pass a resolution opposing the maglev, which is something maybe we've done in the past. I couldn't, but it is something like resolutions are not, enduring for the, forever. And because things are kind of escalating, maybe it's time for us to do another one. So that's sort of what I've been thinking about as far as that goes.
I agree that it's very, very important to move ahead with our opposition, to try some new things, as well as just reconfirm some of the opposition in the county. Councilmember Dernoga, Tom Dernoga, had a town hall meeting. I guess it was last week. Yeah, and I'm thinking that that's something that we should probably try and do with our county council representatives and others short term. Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem.
Well, this came up at the Four Cities meeting, and I think that we talked about having a Four Cities working group on this, and I had mentioned that to Denise Mitchell from College Park as well. I think there's been some transition on the new Carrollton Council at least, and I don't know if there was someone from the, I think it was still to be determined who from Berwyn Heights might be interested in, but that is something that sort of has been on my list, because we discussed that at the Four Cities meeting to get sort of a working group going, and I need to follow up with Mayor Pro Tem Mitchell on that. I'm not sure what that will lead to, but I think that is on the list.
But we have more work to do in an executive session, so we really need to kind of work through these items now. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor of these 3 initiatives, putting them forward for Maryland Municipal League legislative action request, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion does carry. Thank you. And that brings us on to council activities. Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, and I didn't get a chance to get mine in there.
The mayor hasn't gone anywhere for weeks.
I've been in hiding, yeah. Well, that's a wonderful Memorial Day program.
Wonderful.
Yesterday.
Yeah. Great lunch provided as well. Always
Nice.
have such a nice lunch. Yeah. Chatting with people is fun.
Jen does a great job of helping us to remember and acknowledge the good work of our veterans, particularly those that paid the ultimate price. Yeah, please, if there are a couple of things you'd like to highlight.
The Eagle Scout ceremony was really great. Mr. Summeron got a shout out. He wasn't there, but he did get a shout out. And I was talking to my son is in that Boy Scout troop, and I was talking to that scout leader, and one of the statistics that he cited was only 4% of Boy Scouts go on to get their Eagle Scout. And I was like, well, I mean, they're like cranking them out of Troop 214 though, because they had 2. And I was talking to Scoutmaster Scholes, and he was saying the 2 young men who got their Eagle Scout on Friday, they have about a cohort of about 10. And of those 10, like 8 of them either have earned their Eagle or are working on Eagle Scouts. So I'm like, the entire 4% of Eagle Scouts seems to be coming from Greenbelt. But anyway, I just wanted to share that because that's just really impressive that that many Eagle Scouts are coming out of our community. So
That was a great,
Anyway.
great
Truly
event.
is, yeah.
The artist reception at the Greenbelt Art Center was very nice. They have the art up. I think it's mostly open when there are performances, but it's a good variety of lots of different media. And I think the youngest artist that has something on display is 11.
Yeah.
So I think that was kind of impressive. So if you have a chance to go see that,
It's the Asian American.
the
and
Asian or the Pacific Islander,
art
yeah, at the
reception, yeah.
Greenbelt Art Center. There were some really lovely things.
how was the choreography club? I wasn't able to go to that. The choreography.
It was good. I mean, Danielle and I were only there for like the first half an hour, and they got started late. So really, I think we saw maybe 4 or 5 numbers. So we didn't get to see a lot, unfortunately, because the Eagle Scout thing was afterwards. But it was nice. Yeah, it's fun to see. I think what I like about that one is it's because the dancers have done their own choreography, and so they're not just showing their skill as dancers. They're also developing their skill to create their own dances, which I thought was very nice.
And I would say, I grew up as a dancer, and being able to see the talent that comes through our art center is phenomenal. It is really, truly, really, really good. So, I grew up participating in all of that, and our dancers and our choreographers really do match what people who compete and are going to studios outside of a community you would really see. So kudos to that thing.
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and there's a council report. Did you want to say anything about that?
No, I didn't feel the need to discuss it. I just, I wrote up my notes from the Transportation Planning Board if anybody has questions. But I don't feel the need to discuss it necessarily. It was just for information. Though some of those maps were kind of interesting, though. I think some of the updates to the, and I've already forgotten what they called them, but the focus areas.
Okay. Well, that's going to bring us to item number 20, which is we're in a meeting now, so we can go into a closed session. I don't think I have to call a special meeting because we're in a meeting. But Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to read the official notice?
Yeah, so, and will Mr. Pounds be joining us as well?
Yes.
Okay. And
Town
Ms.
Pounds
Ruby, I
and
think.
Ms. Ruby.
Yeah, okay. And I assume, and also I assume you, are those the only 3?
Those are the only 3. Myself, Todd Pounds, and Ms. Ruby, myself.
There's an S at the end, matters, instead of matter, and plural. It's on legal matters.
On a legal, yeah, well, on a legal, I think it's just saying, yeah.
Annexation matters.
Yeah. So I move that council go into closed session in accordance with Section 3-305B7 of the General Provisions Article of the Annotated Code of the Public General Laws of Maryland. 1, to consult with counsel to obtain legal advice on legal matters. The purpose of this meeting is 1, to obtain legal advice on annexation matters. In addition to counsel, City Manager Salmaron, Director of Planning Terry Ruby, and Solicitor Todd Pounds will be in the meeting. Note that council will not return to open session following this closed session.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Niesel. Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Pompey?
Yes.
Ms. Pope?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
No.
Ms. Weaver?
Yes.
Mayor Jordan?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, thank you so much.